What's up, my friends? This is Two Dudes Talking, episode. What are we on? Three? Episode three
Three.
now. And we're gonna dive right into it. We're gonna tail off right from where we left off last week, which was selling versus recruiting. So I think it would be great to really talk about once you kind of agree to yourself that you're going to go into this thing, you're going to do this thing, and then you start inviting, you start sharing, which is what we talked about last week, Curry. And then there's a whole lot of stuff that can cascade down after you start this process, like the word no. People, oh my gosh, people could say the word no, and I think that's one of the fears and phobias that people have as to why they don't even get into this business in the first place because they are scared of hearing the word no. So really quick before we dive into this, Curry, what's your take on the word no, and how does that land with you and just kind of how you run your business?
Well, I mean, I started off with, just completely on fire, and for me, I was an expert already, and the word no didn't mean nothing. I'm joking. I'm totally joking. It
Yeah,
actually
I was
almost
picking up some
ruined,
sarcasm there.
yeah, it almost ruined everything because, my best friend at the time, I thought that if this guy didn't want to join me in my business, how was I going to get anyone else? Like
Hmm.
the real mindset was if I can't even convince my best friend to be part of this with me, and this dude never joined me in
Hmm.
anything. I told this guy, I said, listen, if you had called me up and told me that we're going to be selling hamsters out of the back of a vehicle on the side of the road, you're my best friend. I would have said yes to anything.
Hmm.
But you tell me no, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like, this is not a dude, it about ruined me. No, no was tough at the beginning,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, and I think it's not even just the word no, it's the fear of rejection. I mean, it
mm,
just goes back to human psychology. People don't like the feeling of rejection. And that's, think about growing up, and we talked about this all the way back in episode one. It's, way back when we did that. And we talked about going through school, and, we get taught to be, we get programmed a certain way. And of course, no one likes failing. No one likes getting that F. No one likes that rejection. And it can be demoralizing, it can be devastating, it can be all those things. And I think that carries into adulthood, especially when you're, working on building something and creating something. You just want everything to be picture perfect. And I hear that all the time, when people are going through training or they're onboarding or they're learning. Just like I have an onboarding process for my people, I'm sure you have an onboarding process for your people. And this is a little bit of a tangent, but I think it ties directly to what we're talking about here. It's like, when you bring somebody in, we're always hoping and wishing for the people that they just get it. They go through the training and they're like, "Oh man, this is simple. I understand it. Here I go. I'm off and running." Those are like the ideal people that we are searching for as we are, recruiting, as we are inviting and getting people to join us. And then there's the people that are the complete opposite of that. If they have a question every single step of the way, well, what do I do now? Well, what do I do now? And it's just two completely different types of people. And Kari, give me your thoughts on this. I kind of see that as you're starting before someone even gets to that process where they start onboarding and training. You're whittling them down by getting that no and being like, "Oh, thank goodness you said no because you're not the person I want to have go through my training," right?
yeah, my good friend Dale Calvert has taught me over the years that the only reason to enroll a person is to eliminate them as fast as possible.
Yep.
And that is one of the most devastating lessons to learn because you really do care about people. You really do care that people want to get started and
Yep.
want to do this and want to build, but you very quickly realize the vast majority are those, and I now call them red flag people who are time vampires. They
Yeah.
really don't want to go out and do this thing. They just want to be handheld and be in the social and you it's like you we'll deal with that whole conversation on another podcast, but it's like you have to, those no's are important. Those
Yeah.
no's become very important. And then not just getting a no from the beginning, but getting a no, I'm not going to do this,
Yeah.
and understanding that. So once you get past getting them into the thing, you then have to evaluate whether they're going to do the thing. And sometimes, and a lot of times, it's a no.
Yeah.
It's a hard no.
Yep. Yeah. And no can certainly mean, it doesn't have to mean, no, I'm not going to do this. It can also mean not right now. Um, and I want to take a quick tangent here because this made me, everything we say makes me think of something else. But I
Right?
thought about,
It's two
uh,
dudes talking, man.
I know, man, geez. Um, I thought about a conversation I was having. I mean, several conversations I've had with several leaders over the years that I've worked with. And, it's, I learned a very, very valuable lesson through this process where you can't fix people. And I think people really need to understand that. Like, maybe make that note. Like, you're not a fixer. All we do is show people information and then they can turn around and decide what to do with it. And I've had leaders that I've talked to over the years, and they have people that are on their teams and they're like, I don't get it. They're trying really hard. They're doing the thing. They're making the content. They're going through all of the income producing activities and they're doing their thing and they're just not getting sales. And I don't know what to do. And I just said, you can't fix people. Some people get it. Some people get really good at it, and some people don't. And there's nothing we can do to fix that. Like people either get it or they don't. But the whole point is you keep moving forward and you keep charging forward to, in your case, Curry, like eliminate those people, even though, we might care for them. And I had these conversations where it's like, you care for them, you want them to do well, you want to support them, but you can't fix them. Like you can't solve everything for them. I hope that makes sense. I know that was a little bit of,
It's 100% right. You can't change who a person is.
yeah.
If a person is an 80%er person, and the way you can determine this is look at their job, look at their career. If they have been in the same career and they've just been living status quo and they're comfortable and they're not interested in ever moving towards management, if they're not interested in getting a raise, they've been at the same level for the last 20 years. These are regular, everyday good people,
Mhm.
everyday people. But you don't expect them to then go try something new and then change the dynamic of their life. They never wanted to change the dynamic of their life before. They're not
Yep.
going to automatic. But by the way, it took me 4.5 years to become decent at
Yeah.
this. I wasn't I was stuck in a lot of my own way, and I wasn't good at anything. But one of the things that I will tell you is I found, and I still see this a lot, that you've got to practice doing the thing enough to develop a confidence in the thing.
Hmm.
So I found that even when sending messages, these non-emotional these non-emotional things, you literally type a little message and you hit the send button. My confidence in doing that increased my results.
Hmm.
When I don't understand how that works, but when at the beginning you have that nervous feeling like, what if they
Sure.
say something? What if they feel a certain way? What if they report me? What if they do these things? And it's like, what? Eventually I got to a point where I could care less what they do. It's not my, and this is where I'm going to go in this conversation is it had there was a moment that I was at an event and I was listening to this trainer. His name's Mark Aceta, and he literally on stage said the one thing that changed my entire life, and it was, I'm not responsible for the outcome.
Hmm.
There is nothing I could do in the history of things that will have any effect on the outcome. The only thing I can control is doing the thing. The
Hmm.
only thing, inviting, messaging, calling, texting. What happens after I do the thing is not up to me. It
Hmm.
has no, I cannot feel responsible if my best friend says no.
Yep.
And the moment I heard this and it clicked with me, dude, my world, I went from struggling for 4.5 years to the very next year enrolling 500 personal people because I was just unstoppable because I didn't care anymore. I
Yeah.
didn't, and that no is a response that I can't control, but I'm happy to get.
Yeah. I think it's say that one more time so the people in the cheap seats can hear it. It's
It's wild, man. Once you fall in love with the process of
yep.
doing the thing, the results have no, dude, I'm happy when I get it. I almost am happier getting a no than I am a yes.
Hmm.
Like I know that a no is a response that I did my part.
Yeah.
If I don't do anything, you get nothing.
Yeah.
If I do my job, a no has the same value as a yes. It's just a response to me doing my thing,
Yeah.
whatever the thing is. And so I fell in love with that. Like that's way more important to me than the result. I mean, because like we were talking about at the beginning, once a person gets started, doesn't mean they're going to change your business. It doesn't mean they're going to do anything. You don't. Who gives a crap if they get started or not? What happens when they start doing their thing? That's what's important.
Yeah. And literally just to everything you said, I was just kind of thinking about like um falling in love with the process. Um my wife and I kind of joke about this sometimes because I am such a man of routine. And, I love my process. I love my routine, and I stick to that routine religiously every single day. Every single day, I'm here at my desk at a certain time. I do certain things at certain points in the day. And it's like, it's just the routine of getting out there and sharing, inviting, and doing the thing over and over and over again. And then the crazy part is, and I want you guys watching this to realize, like, the crazy part is when you get into that process and you fall in love with that process, the no's happen. Don't get me wrong, the no's happen, but the sales just happen. Like the people joining, it just happens, and it's just naturally part of the process. And I look at, I for me used I do a lot of texting. That's how I communicate with most of my leads. Some people use Facebook Messenger, texting, calls, like whatever it is. I use a lot of texting. And a lot of the sales that I will get, I will look, sometimes I'll just not even paying attention, but all of a sudden I'll just notice. I look at the date. I'm like, oh my gosh, this person first reached out to me in 2023. That was 2 years ago. And they said no. And now they're saying yes. So, but what did I do? Did I change anything? Did I do something different? Did I try to fix them? Nope. I literally did my thing. I did the same exact thing. I kept inviting and sharing and inviting and sharing and inviting and sharing over and over and over again till they were ready, And I think people, you got to realize, like, they might say no. Who gives a rat's ass? You know what I mean? You guys hear this all the time in network marketing. Some will, some won't. So what? Next, right? We've all heard that. But it couldn't be any more true.
I
Like,
just trained it this weekend. That's hilarious. I trained that exact sentence this weekend. It's
yeah,
hilarious.
but how, I mean, that was one of the first things I heard. I mean, we're talking 20 years ago. I heard that line, and it's like I was like, "Oh, that kind of makes sense." And it couldn't be any more true. You just get into your groove, you fall in love with the process, and well, I guess we'll talk about the book here for a minute, um
Go for no.
yeah, go for no. I was thinking of the go for no, but like, and I've heard you say it like, you're like aggressively going after the word no, or however I've seen it in your posts over the years. It's like you like aggressively go after the word no. You search it out, you seek it out, because all we're trying to do is eliminate people to get to those yeses.
Well, Jim talks about the law of averages. The law
Yep.
of averages, uh, if you step up to swing a bat and a pitcher's pitching a ball, no matter how many times he pitches it, eventually you're going to hit the ball, and then he's going to pitch it some more, and you're going to hit it in lesser amounts of time. And the more you stand at that plate swinging, you're going to hit the ball, and there's going to be a whole lot of missed pitches. But
Hmm.
you know what? You're standing there swinging. You're
Yeah.
standing there swinging. And if you keep swinging, boy, eventually you get a little bit better. You start understanding the speed. You start understanding the cadence. You understand the timing, and you just start making more contact. And the book Go for No is a book, such a short, little, beautiful book. Andrea Walsh, Richard Fenton. Um, they put together a story that helps you understand that when you challenge yourself to chase no's, you start finding a lot more yeses. But
Hmm.
people have to understand that no is just part of that process. Like, it stop being emotionally attached to the feeling of rejection
Yep.
when it's supposed to be there. Like, this is supposed to be there. Like, you're not supposed to sell to everybody. You're not supposed to enroll everybody. You're
Yep.
supposed to find the right people at the right time in their life, not your time, in their time.
Hmm. I this literally everything you're saying just takes me back to um our first episode when we were talking about the mold that we all get stuck in from early childhood on through adulthood. We get programmed, picture the matrix, right? We get programmed like batteries, show up to school, you know, get the answers to the test right so you can move on to the next grade, and you learn from a very early age to get scared of failure, scared of rejection. And you got programmed into that thing that you went through all throughout your life. So now in network marketing and talking about the word no here, you you're shattering that mold. And not everybody can do that. And this ties back to what we're saying about you can't fix people because you're trying to teach, coach, show, invite people, hey, if you want to do this, you're going to have to take this that you knew your entire life and literally just smash it with a baseball bat and blow it up. And now moving forward, everything how you're going to do this thing over here is completely different from everything you've been taught and trained your entire life. Good luck. It's just, but that's the reality. So, when you think about that rejection, like really down root cause beyond no, it's the rejection that people don't want to feel. And what you said was picture perfect, Curry, is it's literally just part of the process. And once you come to that realization of, some people will get it and just go, oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then other people just, they can't get past it because they just don't want to get rejected. They want to get started in network marketing and have everything be perfect. And I see those people, honestly, the people that they're a little hesitant, they're a little scared, but they do get started, but they take almost no action because they want everything to be sunshine, skittles and rainbows and picture perfect, and it just never is. And then they just sit on the bench and it's I'm going to go back to the guy who's right on my screen over here, Dale Carnegie, not Dale Carnegie, Earl Nightingale. You can't steal second base if you leave one foot on first.
Yeah, can't do it.
It's
But
kind of hard.
yeah, and those, maybe one of the reasons I'm really decent at getting the word no is I was a DC student. I wasn't even a CD student. I was a DC student. I failed a lot, and I love that we're talking about failing uh, in that sense, because if you don't fail at things, there's no way to get better. If everything was perfect from the get go, you would never grow as a human being. It's like trying to when you were learning to walk, you fell a lot. You just couldn't figure out balance. You couldn't figure out your
Hmm.
equilibrium. You're moving from side to side. Your steps weren't good. When I watched my kids take off walking, it was like these things ain't going to make it. These things are never going to, yeah, they just figure it out. They figure
Yep.
it out. And then now my daughter's driving a car. She just took my Tesla yesterday. It's like, what? They just, like, everything happens in phases and
Hmm.
growth. And it's like, you ain't going to start off good. You ain't going to be good at this. I know people who join network marketing who've been in real sales their whole life and suck at this
Hmm.
because you got to build a team. And in sales, you don't got to do anything but sell. And it's all about your efforts and you. And this is what we talked about in the previous episode.
Hmm.
This is about team building. And not only do you have to deal with rejection on the front end, but now you got to deal with that secondary rejection of who's going to grow with you and where do you give your time and where like you have to just start paying attention to the process. And most they give up secondarily. They're just like, well, I'm okay with enrolling people, but now I can't get my team started. You're
Hmm.
not supposed to. You're supposed to be weeding people through the process.
Yeah. And that, that ties back to personal development where, it's critically important. And this is, I've always said this from the beginning that like the number one most important thing you can work on to build your network marketing business is yourself. Investing into yourself and doing some sort of personal development every single day. Um,
I
you know,
heard,
it,
just to tie that in, Matt Morris taught us years and years and years ago that if you feed your mind will feed your wallet.
Again, and I mean, I don't know how many great one-liners we've had all throughout
Right,
these
right.
episodes so far, but man, if you guys are not taking notes, you really should be here.
You know
Um,
what's wild about about the one-liners? We we had to hear them multiple times for us
yeah,
to just like these are things over the years we've picked up. We're not reading from notes right now. We're talking about the things that we had to grow through and into to be. I thought about this literally just yesterday as telling Christy is like how do I was a guy who installed 911 centers. I was not a sales guy. I
hmm,
wasn't good at this. I didn't know any of this. And now I teach it without effort. Like it's become such an unconscious just competence that it's fascinating. It's like, where does this come from?
yeah,
Sorry, that's a way big tangent, but it's fascinating.
yeah. I mean, to this day, and I try to share this as much as I can with my team is the personal development journey, and I want you guys to hear this too. Like the personal development journey never ends. You don't arrive. You don't ever get to the destination where it's like, okay, cool. I've read enough books in my life. I am good. You like it never stops because to this day, and you guys can't see the screen over here, but I have a personal development playlist that I listen to every single morning. I have it saved on my YouTube channel, and there's Earl Nightingale, Art Williams, Just Do It, right? Steve Jobs, Jim Rohn, so many others. And I've listened to this playlist. I listen to it literally every day, and I've listened to this playlist I don't know how many thousands of times. I still can listen to something and hear something for the first time or what feels like the first time. And it's like, oh man, that's good. And I take that and I share that to my team and I run with it. And it just gives you a whole new outlook, a whole new um, way of being, a way of acting, way of doing. It never ever stops. You can always learn something new. You can always feel something new. And if you decide to kind of get off that train at some point and be like, yeah, you know what? I've listened to a few books. I've read a few books. I'm good to go. That right there, my friend, I can promise you is the beginning of the end of your journey. At some point, you're gonna throw in the towel. You're gonna play the blame game. You're gonna start pointing the finger at somebody other than yourself as to why this isn't working, as to why your team's not growing, as to why XYZ isn't happening for you when you should be pointing it at yourself. And
But they're just saying no. Like they're saying no to themselves immediately.
yeah,
Like and you have to
yeah,
recognize
they're
that. It's like,
eliminating
well,
themselves.
that's right. You've done it. You've done a great job. We appreciate you for getting out of the way. We do.
Yeah.
We appreciate you. Have a great life. Enjoy your job. Enjoy
Yep.
it. We're happy for you. We're happy you figured it out. Congratulations.
Yep. Yeah. And, going back to what we said earlier, where it's like, I've had conversations with leaders who are trying to help people on their team, and people who are struggling, people who they really want to win. They're trying, or kind of trying. And I've always, told my leaders, I said, listen, like, you can still love someone. You can still care for them, but you can't fix them. You can support them, you can nourish them, you can, you know, but this is an interesting topic here too. And I don't know. We started talking about no, and then we just kind of fall down the rabbit hole ourselves here in these podcasts. But I think I want to hear your take on this too, Curry, because I think this is really, really important, where you could be working with a leader who's trying to work with somebody else, or you're working with someone and they're trying, you support them, you care for them, you want them to do well. But then at some point, you're going to have to make a decision, because they either get it and they can take what you're sharing with them and they can run with it, or it turns on you and they become the time vampire. So how do you know when it's at that point where you're like, okay, I've supported you enough, I've given you enough of my love and encouragement and time and effort, and now it's starting to have a reverse effect where it's starting to pull from your time.
Well, you as if you're the leader, and you give them tasks like, hey, I want you to write down every single name you message over there, call or text or whatever over this week. And at the end of the week, I want to see that list. And they go through the process. And at the end of the week, there is no list. Guys, if people won't follow instructions to improve their growth or audit their activity, next, leave them in their chat bubble, leave them in their group, leave them in their thing, but work with people who are willing to go through the process.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I'm assuming in this fictional scenario, I'm assuming that these people ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people don't say anything. You leave
Yeah.
those people exactly where they want to be. You tell them, here's what we got to do. You onboard them. If they want to go through the process, they go through the process. But you get these people that I know who you're talking about that come to you and be like, I'm trying, it ain't working. Okay, well, I need you to do these tasks. And at the end of the week, if you ain't done those tasks, clearly you don't want it. You don't actually want it,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not going to ask you to do some outrageous thing like, well, over the next 4 or 5 days, you need to message 500 people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm only asking you to write down the ones you did,
Yep.
just to track your efforts. And then maybe we'll look at, what did you say to them? Then we might go, let's adjust some of the things we say. It's the process.
Mm-hmm.
But most people will not finish the first task. And you have to identify that so that you don't get caught up in giving away the most precious thing that we have in life, and it's time. So that the whole point of network marketing is to re-own your time by building leverage through an organization. And if you're giving it away to people who are literally just time vampires, I love that term. It's one of the
Mm-hmm.
best terms ever. They just sucking your time up. And it's like, you have to manage that. You have to, and it takes a while because you care and you have emotions, and you're like, well, they're
Mm-hmm.
such good people. They are good people, but they can stay good people over here. They
Yeah.
can stay good people right over there.
Yep.
And you need to find the ones moving. And this, oh man, this could go right into my favorite subject ever. building relationships.
Mm.
You write that down for a topic. This is my, like, I am the anti-relationship guy. Like, I am so anti-relationship building because I keep thinking, who is the first network marketing trainer that taught people to build a relationship to get a sale? Because that guy or girl, I'd like to punch in the throat. Like, whoever's been teaching this nonsense for the last however many years, you don't build relationships to get a sale. You build relationships with people moving in the same direction as you, your leaders, the people that you're growing with. Me and Dan, we build relationships. We're not even in the same company,
Hmm.
but yet we're going in the same direction, and we got things to share and people to grow with, and we got connections, and we have a relationship. I
Hmm.
didn't have to ask him to join my team. I never call him up and say, "Hey, look, I got the next big thing, but I need to know about your cousins and your job history and your things you do on vacation." They used to teach forming family, occupation, recreation, and money. They used to teach this as a way to get to know somebody to determine whether or not they'd be good for the opportunity you have.
Hmm.
Some reason somebody taught that to do it on social media, and I'm like, who who messed this up? Because on social media you can go to their
Somewhere
profile.
along the train went off the tracks.
Right, you can go to their profile, see everything about that person's life, and just ask them. You don't got to start a conversation with, "Hey, how's your family? How's your mom and them?" Like there's no, like, the logic is killed me for years. Like, I have been so anti relationship building, and I get these people in my, they're just like, "Well, you didn't even try to get to know me first." You're welcome. You are so welcome that I didn't. Like, stop it.
Yeah, yeah, it's just here's here's the interesting part of about this whole thing is like, um, there's when you talk about whittling people down, like I'll have people that will go through my own onboarding process and they're like, the light bulb just goes off. They're like, oh my gosh, where's this been? I've been struggling for years. I've never had this guidance, leadership, whatever it is. This makes so much sense. This is so cool. Love it. I'm off. I'm running. See you later. And you're like, those are the people that you're just like,
Thank you.
la, like
Yeah.
those are the people you want, right? And then I have I have the same person go through and they get to one spot and they haven't even watched the first video yet and started the first thing and they're like, I'm so lost. Where do I go? What do I do? I'm like, it's right in front of you. Click the button and watch the damn video. What do I do then? And I'm just like, and they're like,
Quit.
I'm so
What you do
lost.
is
This
you
is so
quit.
confusing. I don't know what to do. Blah 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 blah. And it's like, wait a minute. Person A just went through and fell in love. Person B is like getting confused by their own shadow. And it's just like, again, goes back to you can't fix people. Some will get it, some won't get it. Keep moving forward. You know what I mean? And it also ties back, to what you were saying, Curry. I just wanted to hit this point. I was thinking of it while you were saying it. Is like when you're getting to relationships and developing, because obviously it's just like your job, right? The more you work with people, the more you get to know people, right? And then the more you get to know people, you start to care for them. You want them to do well. You want them to win. You want them to succeed. But this is where, for you, as you get further into your network marketing journey here, yes, I'm going to reference it again and sound like a broken record, but the more you need to work on this to strengthen this, because there are going to be times throughout this journey where you are going to be tested. Your who you are as a person is going to be tested when maybe one of your leaders, maybe one of your people challenges you and says, well, you're not helping me enough. You're not doing this. You're not doing that, or challenges you and how you're doing things. And that's where your confidence, your belief level in yourself is going to be critically important. And you developing into that leader, into that person that can decipher, okay, is this something I need to invest my time into or not? And that's where, you know, books over here, like constantly learning and developing and nurturing yourself is going to be important because you could have someone challenge you. You could face a situation that you've never been in before or you don't know how to handle. And, you know,
I went through one of those growth moments literally in the last 6 weeks. In the
yeah.
last 6 weeks, I had an uprising of garbage marketers, and I'm just going to publicly say it that way, who just publicly attacked me and my team because I promoted moving quicker. And they absolutely was like, well, we can just go as slow as we want to. We can do this our way. I'm like, sure you can. You're an independent person. You can do anything you want to do.
Hmm.
But as a leader, it's my job to tell you how to do it the right way. And if you don't want to take that information, dude, it actually bothered me having people cuss me in a group of people, like just openly, just literally cussing me as a leader, like you are a crappy leader. You're this, and I'm like, am I really doing something wrong? Like, what am I? And I had to take a step back for a couple days and just be like, wait a
Yeah.
second.
Well, we're human. We have emotions, you know, like,
Well, people like to believe that I have no emotions all the time.
yeah,
So but yeah,
actually one of my nicknames.
I had to grow. Yeah, I had to grow. And it's like I am doing what I'm supposed to do. And I have to just continue to filter. I got to continue to filter. And there are people who are just going to try. And what you said about the progress, it's like the tests,
Hmm.
they're never going to stop. The tests will never stop because when you get to one step, there's going to be another test that's going to take you to the next step, and another test is going to take you to the next step. Look at so many people who go through ultra tribulation in their life to become somebody incredible. It's like those storms we go through make us prepared for the next level, make us prepared for what the next growth is.
Hmm.
And you're not going to be the same guy who made $1,000 as it was when you made $10,000. And
Yeah.
when you
Totally
make
different
a
person.
hundred, I'm nowhere near the same human being I was 10 years ago.
Oh,
Not even
yeah.
remotely close.
And the crazy part is, I think back to even 5, 6, 7 years ago when I was doing decent and I thought, like, you know, you go back to the time and you think, hey, like, I'm pretty good at what I do. At least I did. You know, maybe I'm cocky. I don't freaking know. But I thought, you know, at least like, hey, you know what? I might be pretty good at this. And then I look back now and everything I've learned and experienced over the years, it's like, man, like what a journey. Like I feel so blessed to have gone through, you know, what I went through because it's just made me even better now today, you know, than I was many, many years ago. But I I just keep writing like more and more notes over here, like more and more topics for us to cover in future episodes. And this, I think this is going to tie in, it can tie into today, but I want to dangle this for the next time because um, in in this discussion today of no, you know, going for no and hearing no and not being scared of no and all that other stuff, I want to talk about recruiting up because you said something specifically that made me think of I've gone after other notable names in the industry. I've had plenty of conversations, and I've even had some of those notable names in other organizations and recruiting up, and I've had them say yes, and I've had them join me. And then something interesting happens where they're like, "Well, I'm gonna I'm gonna slowly work because you were talking about going fast." And I'm going to slowly work my way in and I'm going to kind of do it behind the scenes because I'm still involved in this thing over here. And now I'm going to start doing creeping. I'm going to creep over here. And I've had some hard conversations with some pretty big leaders that have made a very significant amount of money. And I've told them flat out, and this is where confidence, personal development, everything that we've been talking about comes into play, knowing when to have a hard conversation with someone. And I've literally had to say, you're going to fail. It's not going to work. And one of the biggest pieces of advice, because I think this is ultimately what I heard from what you were saying, how I took it anyway, is sometimes you just got to rip the band. That was one of the best pieces of advice I got from someone many years ago. They said, sometimes, Daniel, you just got to rip the band-aid off. And I was like, well, what do you mean? You can't operate your business in a closet. You just got to rip the band-aid off and, share it with the world. And I was like, that makes so much sense. And when I heard that, it was like the light bulb went off. And I've had some of those conversations with other people where they're trying to, and you could take this multiple different ways. It could be like, well, I don't want my friends and family to see what I'm doing. Oh, what will the neighbors say? Like, rip the fucking band-aid off. Who cares?
Who
Because
cares?
their opinions don't affect your paycheck. So sometimes you just got to rip the band-aid off and you just got to run and you got to go and not give a rat's ass what anybody else thinks. You know what I mean? I think that can
Can you
be
can you go back and say, instead of saying sometimes, it's required? Like
true.
you
Yeah.
can't,
Yeah.
it's not sometimes. If you want to win, if you want to win at this game, it requires Eric Worre's runway talk is the best. Airplane talk is the best. There's no way to get to a point where your business in network marketing is growing by itself if you don't give it 100% effort at the beginning. If you,
Yeah.
and by the way, I want to stress this. I don't mean the day you get started. I don't mean 6 months after you get started. I don't mean that when you decide
Yep.
that you're going to do this thing, it could be 3 years into your business. It could be any moment. But the moment you figure this out, that it's going to take 100% effort, you go into your very first 90 to 100-day blitz,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the only thing that matters to your soul. Your kids don't matter. Their sporting events don't matter. Your wife doesn't matter. Dinners don't matter. Church services don't matter. The choir practice don't matter. Baseball don't matter. Going out with your buddies don't matter. You have figured out that you have to give what you were just talking about,
Mm-hmm.
that come out of the closet, rip the band-aid off, and have no concern other than winning.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
Now
didn't
the
mean.
question is, I know the answer for me. Like, how many times for you, Curry, have you done that process in your network marketing career? Multiple, I'm
um,
sure, right?
Multiple, for sure.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, multiple in each company.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You get to a point, and I think I'm glad you brought up the fact that it doesn't have to be day one, because it's
Yeah.
hard to give it 100% when you're like, okay, this is all new. I'm still figuring everything out.
You
You
don't
can
know
still have that.
anything.
What's that?
You don't know anything yet.
Exactly. Yeah. So
You ain't running for CEO of your job when you just got to the mailroom. You don't even know the
yeah,
processes, the people, the game. It takes a while to develop to a point where you decide to be the pilot. And
yep,
that's you just, it's part of the process. And nobody, no leader should be driving people to jump into their first blitz on day one. It's like they don't know why they're even doing this yet. They don't know why they need it. They don't know, like, there's a process you've got to become, and it's tough. It's so tough.
yep,
But you got to
yep.
weed those people out. You got to.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, we're coming up on the time when you got to go do your thing. So yeah, I would like to, we have a lot of topics we could
We
dive
got a
into
lot,
next
man.
week, but kind of staying on the same vibe that we're on here, talking about the no's, talking about, filtering people. I think it would be great to talk about next week recruiting up, because I don't think that's something that's talked about enough. I don't think enough people do it because, again, fear of rejection.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah, oh, it's
Uncomfortable.
can be very uncomfortable, but again, who cares, right? What's the worst possible thing that could happen? They
You
say
gonna tell
no.
me no?
Oh no, oh, my
They're gonna
life
tell
is over.
my favorite thing is, don't you know who I am? Don't you
Oh,
know
gee.
who I am? That's my favorite one. It's like, and by the way, I'm sure I've used it too. I'm already this. Listen, I don't need what you.
Uh,
It's like,
I'll give real. We'll end on this real quick. I had a guy join me. He actually wasn't with me. He was with someone who was with me, and he was a supposed big fish. in the industry, and he was leaving me voicemails, and one of his voicemails was, "Hey, I don't know if you know who I am, but I'm a pretty big deal."
A pretty
And
big
then
deal.
my response was, "I know who you are. I just don't give a shit."
That's right, right.
Like, I was like,
I would have dropped him the Ron Burgundy meme. I would have
yeah,
been like, I'm kind of a big deal.
yeah. I was like, I know who you are, but I don't care because you haven't done anything.
Ain't done anything here.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
good for you.
Congratulations on your ring that you wore from the last thing that you did. What are you,
Exactly. Anyway,
1978 Steelers?
two dudes talking. Thank you guys for watching. Curry, as always, thanks for being here, man. Always a good time to hang out with you.
Thanks,
And
Dan.
make sure you guys obviously made it to this point in the video. Give it a thumbs up. And make sure if you're not already subscribed to the channel, share this with a friend. Do whatever you got to do, but help us out and let's get this built up to 1,000 subscribers or more. We appreciate you being here. Curry, as always, appreciate you, my friend. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Bye, y'all.